Now, I am just going to say I'm never shocked by any of the things that I hear the deep state is planning to do if it involves keeping the big guy out of the Oval Office. It never surprises me at all. And this video right here, we're going to go over what Redacted is uncovering and releasing about a potential martial law. You know, in case you guys don't remember, in 2020, there were people like running around the streets, rioting all over the place. And you know, it always had this feeling of this feels orchestrated, you know, like this feels like the deep state full court press. And it's been very calm for the last few years while Biden was in office, almost as if they want to create the impression that when these guys are in office, everything's chill. And then the second that the big guy's in there, everything falls apart. So, and this is obviously their plan to keep him out of office, assuming that he does win the election, which is almost certainly going to happen if we run a fair election. So I want to show you guys exactly what they're saying is going to happen. But I want to start with one of the most insane articles I have ever seen. And this is exactly why people are going to believe that what's happening in the street is real, because you have either straight up lunatics, absolute lunatics writing articles like this that are clearly inciting violence, or they're part of the plan. You know, they're part of like the conditioning plan and they're in on it, right? So that's what we're going to do. This one, I'm going to watch this Redacted video after we go through this article, and believe me, you're going to want to see both of these. It's amazing to listen to what people think about what is going on in the phenomenon that is, you know, Trump versus the reality of what's going on. Okay. So this is titled "The Deep Psychological Reason We're Stuck in This Feedback Loop with Donald Trump." It's been almost a decade and yet it continues. Okay. Now I am going to tell you exactly why this is happening. Okay. And why they think that it's just like, oh, get rid of Trump and then all of a sudden everything goes away. It's not, that's not accurate. Okay. But anyway, let's listen to this, right? So this is the third time Donald Trump has run for president, and yet this cycle, the American electorate and the American press seem unable to fully comprehend the choice we are facing. It is not, as we've been trained to think, a contest between extreme Republican and the middle-of-the-road Democrat. There is still no language that conveys what the stakes really are. This election is not about politics. It's much more basic. It's about how the American determines what is real. Will the future of the country be based on evidence and law, or will government be twisted to reflect whatever Donald Trump tells us is true? These people are so out of touch. It is literally unbelievable. That's really what this guy thinks. Okay, like that's a thing that he wrote. That's really what this guy thinks. Think about that sentence right there. Okay. It's about how the American determines what is real. Will the future of the country be based on evidence and law, like the Democrats have shown us that they represent, or will government be twisted to reflect whatever Donald Trump tells us is true? See, here's the thing, dude. We learned what was true through like means that were definitely not what the government told us, because we found out they were lying about everything. Why do you think this is happening? Okay. Now, I'm going to hold my tongue on why this is really happening, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to this right here. What we're doing here and what's going on with Rogan and Kamala Harris, the difference between the absolute vice grip on information that they had forever when it was just the mainstream media is the only way that you could get information, and now where people can do research and get the message out to people, because when they used to lie, you know, there was more independent journalism. So that's why that worked for a long time, and people would expose the government when they lied. But once they consolidated all of the media under one or two or three or four umbrellas to where they had a vice grip, a real vice grip on information, that required people to go out and independently distribute information when they did things that were wrong. And when you gave them absolute power, they corrupted themselves absolutely. And when you corrupt yourselves absolutely, you are wide open to getting exposed. And that's exactly what started happening. Okay. He doesn't realize it because they're still in this thing like, oh, the mainstream media would never lie. We got that information from the CDC. And you're like, right. And have you looked into the financial incentives or anything like that? You know what I mean? It reminds me of a series of phone calls I started receiving when a teenager from women I didn't know. They were all looking for a man named Steve Reisner, whom they had been dating. Somehow, none of them had ever gotten his phone number, so they had found me in the phone book. It turned out that invariably, after a few dates, this other Steven Reisner had borrowed money from them, then disappeared. How is this? This is insane, okay? I remember one particularly, by the way, my cleaners are vacuuming out there. If you hear that background noise, I apologize. Borrowed money from I remember one particularly plaintive voice on the phone. Stephen, why are you lying to me? What have I done wrong? Try as I might, I couldn't convince her that it wasn't me. Does this mean our engagement is off? She asked me. This is made up, by the way. This is a made up story. I don't believe you. This is made up, dude. Since those calls, I have come to realize that he's lying to you to try to make a point that Trump is lying to you. Since those calls, I've come to realize that those women simply did not understand that they had been dating a sociopath. Oh, so that's just like Trump. That's because people who are not sociopathic just can't believe that pure sociopathy exists. They can recognize that they are being lied to, they can recognize that they are being lied to, even being manipulated, but still they believe that somewhere inside the sociopath there is a human being like they are, perhaps a hurting soul gone astray. Psychologists, too, make this mistake, believing that sociopaths are not strategic, but rather mentally ill because they were traumatized in childhood. If you can't figure out where this is going, they're saying Donald Trump's pure evil, okay? This is the kind of person that was like, man, I really wish that bullet would have hit him in the brain, okay? It's extremely difficult for decent people to accept that there are some people who simply do not share their values in truth and basic human kindness. This is what sociopath counts on. I couldn't possibly agree with you more, dude. That's the thing. I agree with you 100%. The problem is you're talking about yourself, dude. You're talking about yourself. Okay? You're talking about Morge Boros and Gil Dates, okay? That's exactly who you're talking about. Okay? Gates, he donates all that money over here. This other guy who has literally destroyed multiple countries in order to capitalize on currency trading, who is behind all of this chaos in countries because he funds all of those things. And what have you seen Trump do that even moderately resembles what those guys do? It's like, you're right about all of this, except you're talking about yourself and you don't realize it because you're stupid, okay? Democrats in particular suffer from this neurosis. They are regularly surprised and outraged when each new iteration of Trump's lies and cruelty, reacting not unlike the women who used to call me on the phone, which don't exist. They just can't believe that someone could be so brazenly deceptive and selfish and get away with it over and over and over again. Politics has always been a tough game, but Democrats think, but even Dick Cheney believes in the rules. Now Dick Cheney is on, Dick Cheney's a good guy. He's a good guy, guys. These rules can be stretched out, but ultimately they continue to tell themselves the system will preserve, right? To my ears, it sounds the same as, does this mean our engagement is off? Which is a made up story. I do not believe this story at all. It's a weird thing. Like, oh, they just couldn't hear that your voice was different on the phone. Oh, really? Like your super smart story. Like they couldn't tell that your voice was not the voice of their fiance. You stupid liar. Give me a break, dude. We are now at the 11th hour. The Republicans, under the brilliant tutelage of Donald Trump, have become the party of sociopaths, and their aim is to regulate the Democratic Party is to relegate the Democrats to a party of hapless neurotics. Sorry, when I see relegate and Democrats, I thought they meant regulate, since of course, you know what I mean. I see Democrats, I assume regulations. If you guys didn't understand that reference. The fateful question is, will the Democrats and the mainstream press continue to waste their energy being shocked, or will they change their strategy? It all boils down to this. How will the American voter assess what is true? Dude, this is insane. This is insane. Okay? These guys that are up against Trump have literally gotten caught in 150,000 lies. Like every single thing they say ends up being a lie. For Republicans and Fox News, truth no longer has anything to do with facts or even reality. Truth has returned to its pre-enlightened meaning, or as Merriam-Webster puts it, its archaic meaning: fidelity, constancy. To be true in the medieval Trumpian world is to be loyal and steadfast. Oh my God, dude. It's no longer about reason or even belief. It's about faith. This is so stupid, I can't even take it. Freud had a word for that kind of primitive faith. He called it illusion. People crave a godlike father figure. Oh my God. No, I think more so, small business owners just want to be with someone who says, we won't shut your business down ever again. We'll never do that to you again. I think that's a little bit more to do with it than whatever lunatic, like clown show world that you live in, dude. This is so crazy, dude. This is so crazy. Freud explained, especially when they feel threatened with the eruption of two dangers, the crushingly superior force of nature and the shortcomings of society, which have made themselves painfully felt. In the 21st century, facing severe social inequities, just like when nature seems most out of control, America is in exactly that vulnerable state. And so it shouldn't actually surprise us that nearly half the country's voters have rallied around a sociopathic strongman who promises protection in return for absolute fealty. Oh, is that what it is? Or do you think that you guys got caught lying 10,000 times and he's the only one that'll tell you to go fuck yourselves? You know what I mean? You think maybe that has a little bit more to do with it or what? Okay. And this is the same guy who wrote this one right here. Psychologists can't stop diagnosing Trump because he's puzzling in a totally new way. The Democrats and the mainstream press completely miss the big picture. They think that they can combat this alternative reality by zeroing in on Trump's lies. Fact-checking has become the self-soothing fantasy of a neurotic press. Useless because the real issue is that Trump and his followers live in a completely separate reality. That's true. The one where we actually look into things and validate ourselves whether what you guys are telling us is true. And guess what? 90% of the time, it's not. You know, there's no fact-checking exercise that could get us to a common ground because of in Trump's reality and the reality of nearly half the country, whatever helps a sociopath score points against the Democrats is the truth. Really? Really? Hey, how about you fact-check this, dude? Did you guys charge him with a felony for a misdemeanor that was past the statute of limitations? Did you guys do that? Is that a thing you guys did? How'd you think that we were going to interpret that? Okay. Did you guys, say that the thing that happened on Jan 6 was an insurrection and then somehow not charge the 6'8" guy that's on video inciting the entire thing for some odd reason, and then the FBI can't answer whether or not they have people on the ground who are actually inciting violence? Is that a thing that happened? If the Democrats are to get through this, by the way, and then did you guys sell us a whole thing about Russiagate? By the way, if you're new to my channel, I've made it pretty clear that I didn't start on the Trump train, right? Where I immediately started questioning right after the 2016 election when they started immediately lying, and I was like, man, this is kind of weird. And then where I've completely flipped to never come back is the second the Mueller report came out. Okay, because I watched all of that. I listened to all of the Russiagate stuff, and I said before it came out, I'm like, there are two options. Either he's going to jail and he's dirty on this stuff, or else I am 100% on the wrong side because they could have only fabricated all of this stuff. And if they fabricated all of this stuff, then what he's saying is true. And that's exactly what happened. There was nothing in it. And I'm like, wow, they really made all of this up. And that was on top of all the other stuff that were, I'd also been seeing this like development of woke stuff where it just got on my radar around 2016. I was like, what is this? And then from that moment, I was like, I will never go back there. Never. Anyway, so if the Democrats are to get through this, they must take the neurotic gloves off and focus on one goal, forcing Democrats and Republicans alike to see that the Trump reality is leading the country off a cliff and that the only one parachute is Trump. Oh my God, dude. Yeah. Okay. So you guys open the border. So, it's like, I don't even know where to start, dude. Every speech and appearance, every TV ad interview, every remaining moment of the campaign and afterwards, when the Trump armies fight the results, must be devoted to the fact that Trump is trying to rewrite the rules by which we all live. And instead of a democracy, we have a Church of Trump. Yeah. Okay. So once he does win, and then you guys, man, this is so crazy, man. He does not hide this. He has said clearly and repeatedly that his aim is to dismantle the rule of law, arrest his enemies, bring the army to police our streets, shut down the free press, and empower local armed militias to terrify anyone who stands in his way. We just refuse to believe that he would actually act that way. When has he said that, you lying weirdo psychopath? You people are insane. That is insane. What are you talking about, dude? God, man. Kamala Harris has finally begun to call out the extreme danger of the Trumpian reality. Oh, yeah, because we haven't been hearing that from you guys for the last 8 years. But she also can't help herself. She still normalizes him by labeling his statements as unhinged rather than strategic. The press neurotically follows suit, putting ironic scare tactics around his political plans. Trump escalates threats to political opponents he deems his enemy, reads the headline in the New York Times. But Trump is not threatening an imaginary enemy. He is making plans to jail enemies and has already begun to name people included on the list. He has already worked out how he will use the National Guard and the larger military to silence and jail anyone who he deems a threat to his power. This is literal insanity. We can laugh along with the late night TV and leading Democrats about Trump dancing, just as we can call out how press is normalizing Trump's statements, sane washing. But these responses are best understood as symptoms of a national neurotic delusion, the delusion that no one can really be that evil. This is the delusion that our system will prevent him from doing what he says he will do. The delusion that sociopaths don't really exist, but sociopaths do exist in the American society. They become billionaires or they become president or both. The only way to stop him is to act as if Trump does have a plan and deadly serious about all of it. Only we can call this engagement off. What do you think that means? You know what I'm saying? What do you think that actually means? Because guess what? Okay? When we talk about some kind of like martial law getting implemented if Trump does win, and then they use that as a reason to shut down, then they don't inaugurate him and all that stuff. What do you think this means? That's what he's talking about. Okay? Again, listen, you heard all of that insanity. He didn't say we need to get out and vote him out. He said the only way to stop him is to act as if Trump does have a plan and is deadly serious about all of it. Only we can call this engagement off. I mean, after you just said that this guy is an absolute evil sociopath who is planning on jailing everybody, what do you think that means? I didn't hear him say anything about voting right there. Like, this is insanity. This is actual pure insanity. Now, let's move over into controlled insanity, which is this story that we referenced at the beginning of the video, which is the plan the deep state is going to bring in to make sure that he never takes office. All right, let's watch this.
Saying on this show now for more than a year that Trump will likely win in a landslide, but that the deep state will never allow him to be inaugurated as president of the United States on January 20th. The CIA will not allow it. The very same group of people, of course, who doesn't want him to become president because he's going to defund them largely and put them out of business. And now we're hearing from the deep state that the deep state is preparing for martial law in the United States in order to prevent Trump from becoming president. He'll win the election, clearly, by a landslide. It's seemingly was what's about to happen. But January 20th rolls around. This is how you can keep Congress from getting him into the presidency. They're already setting ballot boxes on fire in Oregon, Washington State, in the swing districts where Trump is polling very, very strong. Overnight, Clark County, Washington, had another ballot box set on fire. This in addition to the ones in Vancouver, Washington, and in Oregon. This is the United States of America. You look at this, you'd be like, oh, that's probably happening in some third world country right now. No, that's the United States of America.
Yeah, and let me show you something else, too. Check this out. Just in case you think that this is like a single plan. Look at this. Okay? Look at 14th Amendment plan to disqualify Trump explained. Now, you get into this, okay? Here's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, here's what's going to happen. And we've actually heard Democrat senators specifically say that what they were going to do is they were going to use the 14th Amendment to not inaugurate him even if he wins. He said that the Supreme Court's leaving it up to us to keep him out of office. And they're saying it like, oh, the Supreme Court's failing at its job. It's like, no, you're destroying democracy. Everything that you're saying that we do is what you do.
Setting ballot boxes on fire in swing areas where Trump is polling really well and doing really well. This is the tolerance, right? This is the tolerance we talk about. Hundreds of ballots up in flames. These areas that were hit in blue states are currently polling very well for Trump.
Of course. Okay. Of course. Because why else would they be on fire? You know what I mean? Of course that's where that's happening.
They are swing counties.
This is why Clayton and I today were like, we have our ballots. We're like, are we going to mail these? Or are we going to go in?
No, we're going in physically.
Yeah,
and we
because
want a
I
receipt.
don't trust it. Yeah.
I know.
Let us know what your plan is if you've already mailed it.
Speaking of which, Gabrielle, we need to go vote. We got to go vote. We already went once, and the line was so absurd that we were like, we actually just didn't have time because we had to go pick up the kids. We're like, how long is this going to take? And, so obviously we're going to vote, but like we couldn't that day.
How do you feel about that? Because, well, two things. One, I want a sticker to wear around all day.
Right.
And then also, I just don't trust it putting that ballot in the mail anymore. Let me know how you feel about that.
So one way or another, they're trying to stop him right now. Either it's burning the ballots or something else. This is why we just said, we're going on election day to the polling location, voting in person. I mean, you guys do you. I mean, it's up to you. And I'm certainly they're pushing it over. I think the numbers overnight are about 45 million Americans have already voted. 45 million Americans have already.
Wow. 45 million Americans have already voted. And when is it? This is from yesterday? I don't know what to think about that. That's wild.
Voted. And they thought their ballots would be safe. Mm-hmm. They drop them in these ballot boxes. They're like, I'm doing my good for the country. Until you see the local news and you're like, wait a second, that's the exact ballot box that I dropped mine off in.
Right.
And they're all up in flames now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to fast forward to where he's talking about the deep state plan right here.
Does win clearly in the election. Is your sense that on January 20th, Trump will be inaugurated or no?
This period between November 5th and January 6th is going to be extremely intense. If Trump wins, my sense is that you will see street paramilitary, left-wing / never Trump, right even potentially. You're going to see this sort of summer 2020 style riot force start to break out on the streets. The media is going to portray them as pro-democracy groups who are protesting the illegitimacy of the Trump Electoral College victory. So that's going to shut down the country. It's going to start terrorizing people. It's going to start preventing people from being able to communicate. You're going to see pressure put on the social media companies, extreme pressure put on by the Justice Department, put on by the advertiser networks. You're going to see this crisis response. It's going to feel like this country is, it's going to feel like the day after January 6th for 2 months if Trump does indeed win the Electoral College, in order for them to prime the pump for their extraordinary actions on January 6th.
Oh, hell.
I mean,
Okay, so if you want to see what their reaction is, I highly encourage you to go to. If you don't follow Redacted, get on it, dude. That's in all seriousness. That if someone was going to ask me what I thought was the best channel on YouTube that covers all of this stuff, they are potentially number one, in my opinion. Potentially number one. They've got a fantastic channel. I always look like, honestly, I've been watching them. I'm like, I don't understand how they are not getting just look at their videos, dude. Like, it's like, dude, that you would think that they would be getting slammed and suppressed. I mean, well, given that they have 2 million subscribers and their views are not that much different than mine, I think it's fair to say they probably are being suppressed. I bet you if you got into their analytics, they look exactly like mine, which is, hey, what percentage of your videos are being viewed by people who don't subscribe? Probably not very many. You know what I mean? I'll give you check it out. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. So if you pick any of my videos at random, right? So it's all right. So, Trump, Kamala, boom, we'll go to analytics and then let's look at audience. It's subscribe versus, see what I mean? Look at, oh, sorry. You can't see it. Look at it. Subscribed 93%, only 6% people. And then look at this. Hey, so how many new viewers were shown this video? People who had never seen my content. Let me just check on that real quick. So that would be, let's see the total. Oh, weird. So 30,562 returning viewers and 450 new viewers. I don't think you guys understand how abnormal that is. Okay. That is not normal at all. Except if you're talking about things that, maybe make this guy look real good. But anyway, so bottom line is this. I believe that what that guy is predicting is highly likely. because I just don't think these people are going to give up no matter what. I think they have pulled out every stop. They just can't get rid of this guy. They've tried everything. They tried shooting him. They tried putting him in jail. They tried taking all of his assets. They have done anything they can to get rid of this guy, and they just can't do it. He just keeps on coming. He's like, I don't know. He's like something, you know. But anyway, and by the way, given the context of that article, you can see why these psychopaths would agree to this stuff. Like where it's like, we need to do blah, blah, blah. Like if you believed what is in that article, you would support any action that is going to keep that guy out of the office. I mean, it's that simple. What action could be taken that would seem like too much if the contents of the article that we just went through were true? If that's true, then you do anything to keep him out of office. That's why the media is so important to the deep state apparatus and how they manipulate people. It's just that simple, man. So don't be an idiot. Start listening to people who are thinking for themselves and get your face out of mainstream media. All right, anyway, that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Bye-bye.